Alright, good morning. So, going to introduce what this channel is about for you. So, I'm a disabled veteran, so, I'm going to attempt to teach you how to do impersonations of your favorite artist from home, right? In kind of a home study course. In the course, I'll teach you musical principles, things of that nature, how to impersonate your favorite artist, and learn to sing on your own, right? Things of that nature, right? And how to kind of develop your own voice there, right? Now, the main thing is to learn to sing by ears, which is the main part of this lesson. Now, if you do it the same way, you can also teach similar materials, right? But you got to do it a certain way to be legal, right? Now, under copyright rules for educational purposes, you can use 10% of the artist's total material, right? Well, that's also the total material. So even when they release a song as a single and on an album, right, that's part of the artist's total material, right? And when they do that, they don't realize what they're doing, I don't think, but they're turning a 3-minute song, say, into a 6-minute song by double releasing it, right? That still counts towards the total material, right? So when they double release a single from the album, and whether it becomes popular or not, they're really adding to the artist's material, right? So you should be able to use a full song depending on if it's for educational purposes. Now, educational purposes includes the lesson plan. You got to teach the song in your own style too, right? So I've been doing this on YouTube for like 14 years, trying to, you know, first introduce it as just purely impersonation, right? But the legal ramifications of that is you can't just sing the song without permission, right? From the copyright owners, right? But you can teach 10% of the material of the artist, right? Under educational purposes, but you got to do that in a format, right? You can't come out and just sing the song unless you say do it a cappella without music, right? And then that's under choirs, like I learned in school, and that's different. But I'm also going to teach you to impersonate musical sounds, like the guitar, the piano, a little bit. Now you might can do better impersonation skills or lesser impersonation skills, but whatever your skill level, just keep listening to the material, right? That's the point of the lesson. And this is a home study course because I'm doing it from home, right? It's like with my martial arts videos, I'm learning those from home, but I'm having my mom to validate it because she's also in the martial arts when I was, and she's a brown belt in Shidoru, and she can help rate me, right? Things like that, right? Well, I'm doing home study courses, and the weird thing is, like, I had kind of a falling out with some instructors because, see, I'm home all day, right? Well, someone who's not home all day can't do the same workload I can do, right? I can do martial arts for about 2 hours a day, include my walking as exercise in the program, and yet John Hodges, who's supposed to be teaching martial arts from his dojo, wouldn't see what I was trying to say to him and cut me out of his program, right? Well, he's not supposed to do that, and because see, I'm a disabled veteran who was injured in the fall and broke my lower extremities, and I'm trying to recuperate or rehabilitate. And I was trying to use the martial arts he was teaching to do that, but he wouldn't let me either because I could put in more hours than his other students, right? Well, that's not fair to me, right? So now what I'm doing is I'm letting my mom validate what I'm doing because she's a brown belt and can rank me in Shidoru, right? But she can also rank me in another style because I can demonstrate what I'm doing to her, right? Well, not to her, but if I was to teach her, I can teach her too, right? And she knows I'm just trying to validate what I'm doing, right? and I can't get to the senseis, and they're kind of blackballing me or not doing me right. And that's also my former instructor, Cliff Yon, right? He's been a real uptight buttwad, and I don't know why. Right? And, you know, I don't know if it involves one of his former students, Donna Jackson, but, you know, even she was kind of acting weird when I kind of interacted with her around between 2006 and I think 2008, somewhere in there. And she went out to a church I was going out to. We had like a Christmas show, and she was kind of in the audience that day, and I remembered her and spoke to her, and I was talking about going up and finishing my black belt under her. Well, I couldn't really go up all the way up to Springfield because of my disability as well. Things like that. But like I said, just Cliff's kind of acting weird about all that. Well, Cliff also had a brown belt instructor in Guyton who could also rank us, right? So that's what I'm using my mom for. And she's a brown belt too, so she can validate the work I'm doing in the home study courses. And that's why I'm trying to teach you music from home. Now, I'm doing this under the premises of piano teachers, right? A piano teacher can charge you to teach you piano's lessons from home. Well, the same thing with an educator is they can get paid for their being a teacher, right? So whatever views I get goes towards my teaching skills, not the material I'm using, which is under educational purposes, right? And any teacher can get paid for doing their job, right? So that's why I'm trying to teach you music. That's why I'm like, I can do Strolling Through the Park, while strolling through the park, which is an older song, but I can do it in different voices. Like I can do, while strolling through the park one day, in the merry, merry month of May. Kind of like a barbershop quartet, but I'm one person. Now see, one person can't sing in harmony. Harmony is about two or more people singing in a different note arrangement, right? But I'm teaching you to sing in unison and do impersonations. Now, for instance, I can do all four Beatles. John, Paul, Ringo, and George, right? No particular order, but you know what I mean. Probably alphabetical. Except for George. George will be first, actually, but you know, right? But I can sound like all four Beatles, right? So, if I want to do a Paul song where Paul is the stronger voice, I can bring out Paul's voice, like in the song Yesterday. Yesterday, love was such an easy game to play. Now I need a chance to hide away. Oh, I believed in yesterday. Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. Alright, that's John. I mean Paul. And you know, kind of just woke up this morning about 4 o'clock in the morning, right? 4:50 actually. Tried to wake up, watching some music earlier, alright. Got up a little bit before 4, I think, alright. Not exactly sure when, but somewhere around there. But anyway, went to bed around 11, alright. Well, bedtime for me. Got someone to watch late shows once in a while. Which, like I said, I'm kind of teaching you what comedians do, like Jimmy Fallon, and entertainers like Terry Fader, or even puppetry like Darcy does as well. Now, the thing about puppetry is it's one of the hardest things to learn, but once you learn it, you can basically do that well too. Well, I I got me a little puppet, which I got from the Goodwill in Garden City. Right? It's just a little puppet, but what it does is to teach you how to do ventriloquism, right? Ventriloquism is where you speak without using your lips so much that you don't seem to be talking to yourself, and it's another way to talk to people like this. You gotta kind of make it up like you're not using your mouth too much, but some people can do it wrong. And I'll teach you ventriloquism. I'll teach you impersonation. I'll also teach you how to develop your own voice, right? So, cause you're not really supposed to, unless you're a comedian, do impersonation, right? If you want to be a singer, you gotta learn to develop your own voice. Well, that involves listening to yourself and learning how you talk and the pattern you talk in. Now, when I was raised, I learned certain vocabulary and speech patterns, right? Now, I'm from the South, but do I sound like a Southern resident? No. Reason is, I talk with what's called diction, right? I have no accent, but I don't sound like someone, say, from Boston. You want to drive a car? Or someone from the South. I'll see now, boy. That's like Arnold Leghorn from the Bugs Bunny cartoons, right? And, you know, I'm kind of talking at what's called a no accent tone, right? I'm not incorporating draws or slower talk speech or faster speech, just normal speech patterns, right? Well, when you sing in a choir, that's what our choir teacher, Mr. Mullis, taught us, and I took choir for 3 years in school. That's part of what this is about, to teach you how to learn to sing in choir in school from 8th to 10th grade. I also took band from 6th to 9th grade, and that means I have 5 years of education in music, right? Combined together, right? 4 years of band from 6th to 9th, and then 3 years of choir from 8th to 10th, right? Which is 5 years of music experience, right? And I can play instruments like the trumpet, right, the piano. Now, I was never classically trained to play piano like the piano teachers would do, and they would go to your house and your parents would charge them a fee to teach you piano from home or from your own home. Well, I'm teaching you music from my home, right? And see, music is such an easy thing to do. You can learn it from home. So I'm offering you a free home study course on YouTube. And I'm trying to teach you how to use 10% of the artist's material when you're using a song, right? Now, that don't mean you can use a whole song. You got to be careful with how they might react to you too, right? They might not understand what you're doing, right? Like me. So what you got to do is use clips, right? Clips is part of the musical part of the song, but you only go so far, right? Yeah. You can use 6 seconds per minute, right? Which is 10% of the material, right? So if it's a 3-minute song, that means you can use almost 20 seconds of the song to teach a lesson from, right? But since it's each clip, say you teach 20 seconds of the first part of the song and then 20 seconds, which turns into 9 lessons, right? Well, when you're teaching music, that's okay, right? You can use clips of 20 seconds of the song. Now, if the song is longer, say 4 minutes, you add 6 seconds, or for 3 minutes or 3 seconds each, 30 minutes, right? That's a second every 10 seconds, right? And the problem with the copyright law is it does allow 10% of the material to be used for educational purposes. Well, That's their total material, right? You should be able to teach a whole song, but they're kind of standoffish about copyright rules, and they're breaking their copyright rules as well. See, Edgar Allan Poe, for instance, because see, all a copyrighted material is words and music put together into lyrics, right? Well, lyrics have to do with a song, and poems have to do with writing in the book, right? Now, the difference between poems and lyrics, though, isn't much at all. And see, under freedom of speech, you can teach a poem, and that would also apply to lyrics of a song, right? For educational purposes, right? And you could also teach music, right? So what I'm doing is I'm teaching you the words of the song in a poem-like fashion, like Edgar Allan Poe will let schools use and copy 10% of his material under copyright rules, right? So I'm doing the same thing with mine, right? So what I'm doing is I'm teaching you, how to learn to sing from scratch, right? While strolling through the park one day. Well, say you want to sing like one of your most favorite artists. I don't know. Say Michael Jackson, right? While strolling through the park one day. I'm just doing it kind of as a mild example. But Michael's songs are like, beat it, no one wants to beat it. So, when you're doing impersonations, right, I'm going to also teach you how to sing other songs with the artist's voices as well. Which is kind of harder to do, right? Right. Well, let's take Steve Perry, for example. And so now I come to you. Well, when you impersonate people, or you try to sing in your own voice, if you're singing close to the artist's melody, right? Like I did a song with a different accompaniment called Open Arms in one of my earlier videos when I was younger, right? And that was within the 14-year period on YouTube, right? So, I was strolling through the park one day. If you want to sing it like Steve Perry, you still got to do the same notes for the song you're singing. But then you got to change your voice to match Steve Perry's, and that becomes a better way to entertain people too. So if you sing Strolling Through the Park one day like Steve Perry or Michael Jackson, you're kind of going beyond the scope, and doing some of the things Jimmy Fallon would do. Like you can also change the words of the song around and with a new melody also do another artist's impersonation with a different song. Say you want to do Steve Perry doing a Michael Jackson song. Well, she was my computer queen from North Sea. I say, oh, mama, what do you mean? I am the one who would dance on the floor in the round. And that's kind of just a mild example, and I might be a little bit off because I didn't practice that either. So you kind of got to learn by practice, right? Now, some people might could sing at a drop of the hat in their voice and sing any song they want to sing, right? But what I'm teaching you is impersonation, right? How to change your voice and blend with the people around you, which was what you do in a choir. Well, choir is all about unison, and the thing is, one person can only sing in unison, not in harmony, right? Two people can sing in harmony. The odd thing is there is no perfect harmony. Reason is, harmony ain't about one person singing, it's about more than one person singing. Like Meghan Trainor in the song All About That Bass, she's singing harmony on herself in the studio. The reason she can do that is the studio has 7 decks when you record your track. Each deck does a different part of the song. One can do the bass, one can do the guitar, bass and electric, and acoustic, and piano, and even percussions, which is your drums and stuff like that. Now, the bass and electric guitar, or lead guitar as well, is what you use to play in a band. But I can also teach you, like Michael Winslow could do, to sound like Jimi Hendrix guitar from Purple Haze. Now, Jim Breuer also on SNL was trying to kind of do that a little bit too, but he wasn't as successful as, say, Michael Winslow, right? Or they wouldn't really let him do it fully, right? And kind of might have fit his wings a little bit, whatever. But I can also teach you, like, how to get into your whistle range, because I learned to do that, and I'm 49 years old. Well, whistle is what Minnie Riperton and Mariah Carey and certain female singers can do, but also Adam Lopez and myself can do it too. I learned I can do it with the cold, which is one of my videos on my lesson plan. Right. Well, whistle is easier done for a male on the inhale than the exhale, right? Reason is you're inhaling, and it's easier to get into whistle for a male with that, but it sounds the same whether you're inhaling or exhaling when you're singing whistle, right? That's kind of in the same range as Minnie Riperton and Loving You, but a little bit more flatter, right? There's a reason for that. I'm just trying to teach you. You can learn to do it too. And like I learned to do it with New York Vocal Academy with Justin, a guy named Justin. But I can also teach you my method of learning it, right? And show you how I learned to do it too, which is based on Justin's method, but I'm also my own individual teacher. So my method of teaching you, if you ever saw Rudolph's Shiny New Year, where they have Eon the Terrible, well, I can teach you to also, because of how he talked about inhale, what do you call it, phonation, right? That's part of how he taught me to do it, right? Well, Eon, when he talks, he sounds like he's inhaling in a high-pitched voice. If you remember Rudolph's Shiny New Year, right? Yourselves, right? Well, that had to do with the Baby New Year, who every year there's a new Baby New Year in the storyline, right? And the Baby New Year ran away because he had big ears, right? And everybody would laugh every time they saw his ears. But he felt like he was being picked on because he had big ears and was different than everybody else. But it turned out, Rudolph explained that when they saw the ears, it made them laugh because they were happy. Right? And his, if you've seen the show, the movie, the TV show before, it's kind of helps him deal with the laughter, right? Well, see, sometimes, because Rudolph was picked on himself, you know the song, you know Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen, Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen. But can you recall the most famous reindeer of all? Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose, and if you ever saw it, you would even say it glows. All of the other reindeer used to laugh and call him names. There you go. So, what they would do is the reindeers would pick on Rudolph and call him names because of his red nose, right? Because other reindeers don't have red noses, they have more black noses, right? So that was the premise of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. But in there was also a kind of a 4th of July type Rudolph, right, as well. I don't know, I forgot what that was called, but anyway, that one they explained how Rudolph got the nose from I forgot, some fairy, something like that, right? And she did it because she knew that some warlock or some evil person was going to try and send the blizzard to affect Christmas, so Santa Claus couldn't go out that year. And she gave Rudolph his shiny nose with a little star on it or something, right, on his paw. And that's how he kind of became Rudolph. And that was also explained in the one in July. It was, I don't think it was Christmas in July, but I forgot what it was, but it's been a long time. But anyway, I could probably look it up and explain it more in detail. But this is all for educational purposes anyway, right? It's to teach you how to change your voice and learn to sing a song. And also, see, a lot of people get box, right? In other words, you can only sing in one voice, and you can't change your voice. But what if you could do more than that, right? What if you could impersonate people, right? Well, that's what I'm kind of trying to teach you to do: to listen better and learn to change your voice. Learn to change your voice. Fool your friends. That's from Beetlejuice. But anyway. And the children. But like I said, so the main purpose of this channel is to teach you how to sing along with your favorite voices, how to do that with clips of the artist material, but you can't use the whole song maybe, because they kind of freak out over that, right? Under copyright rules. Well, even then, you got to do it in educational format. For instance, I use if you ever heard the song Miracles by Jefferson Airplane, it goes like this. If only you believe, like I believe, baby, like I believe, we'll get by. If only you believe, if only you believe in miracles. I'm kind of freestyling it there for the end. But, part of the problem is belief in the first place, right? A lot of teachers don't really teach you impersonation, just to sing in your own voice. That was kind of a problem I had with my 6th grade music teacher as well. Because, see, I was wanting to sing the song like Ray Charles. For instance, Georgia, I would try to sound like Ray Charles's version of Georgia. Georgia, Georgia, no free sci-fi. Just an old 3 side, it's Georgia on my mind. But the music teacher wanted me to sing it in my voice, but I didn't quite know how to do it then, right? Well, now that I'm 49, I can teach you to do both, right? Because with my experience and learning to sing in the Navy and the military and continuing my education and self-taught education, right? I'm also self-taught, right? So, that's more impressive. Now, for instance, I can play the Rose on piano by ear because there's 2 ways to do it. The main melody. So that's the Rose, and that's the opening melody, right? Now, what that is that's Bet's vocals put to piano, right? Some say love, it is a hunger. I can also teach you to sound masculine or feminine in a way, too. The reason for that is they got the females singing in low alto contralto range, but they got the males kind of screaming at the top of their lungs as high as they can get, right? Well, that's really about the same range musically, right? And what that means is, say you want to sound like AC/DC, either Brian or Bon Scott, right? Well, the thing is, who made who? Who made you? Well, that's kind of a high range for a male. Alright? But let's say you want to sound like Olivia Newton-John from Grease or something like that. Hopelessly devoted to you. Well, because AC/DC kind of is in the female range, and Olivia's is kind of in a low alto range, right? Though she sounds good, so does Brian, right? Which is the one I impersonated there. Now, if I want to do Bon Scott, I would have to do some of the earlier material of AC/DC, like, can I sit next to you, girl? Or, TNT, I'm dynamite. TNT, I will die for either. TNT, I'm the power load. TNT, what is that? And that's early Bon Scott. And I can also teach you how to impersonate and write your own songs, right? In the impersonated voice. And that's some of the things I did when I had other channels on YouTube too. Now I'm kind of evolving and kind of having to make new channels because people aren't quite getting what I'm doing. And I'm running into problems, and so I'm trying to deal with those problems as I'm trying to teach you music from home, right? In the home study course, right? Of impersonating your favorite artists, right? And so as I'm doing that, I'm having problems with people not understanding what I'm doing, of course, right? But that's kind of more on them than me, right? Well, you know the woman from Poltergeist too, right? The first one with Heather O'Rourke, right? And I think her name was Zelda, right? Well, I can sound like her, children. Step into the light. There's peace and serenity in the light. Well, that's a pretty damn good impersonation of me now, right? Right. She knows the movie, right? And I might even give you chills on. We do. I'm like, well, I can all I want, man. But also like a man, right? Now, I also learned about androgyny, which has to do with us being male and female, right? And in the book of Revelations, John uses the Greek word for female breast to describe Jesus' body in heaven, right? Kind of, right? In the vision, yeah. Well, Jesus is in the middle of the candlesticks, and there are 7 candlesticks with 3 on the left and 3 on the right of him, right? Well, that could have to do with the females being on the left and the males being on the right, metaphorically, right? Now, that's just the metaphor, right? Because every human being can be on the right of or left of someone, whether you're male or female. That's just kind of the point about a metaphor. But metaphorically, you have Jesus, who is fully androgynous, the male and the female. Now, the true image of God is androgynous because the male and females are one in Christ Jesus, according to the Apostle Paul. And God is above all, through all, and in you all, right? Well, that means to do that, he has to be fully androgynous, then male and female in 2 bodies. And in the Bible, at the Transfiguration, the word transfigure means 2 other people came out of him, and he metamorphed. And the way the disciples use the word is they use the word they, or the, at the end, which is the neutral word for God. In the Greek, theo is God, and thea is goddess, right? And theoa is God and goddesses, right? That's kind of how you would do it in the Greek, or even in the common Greek that the disciples used, right? Well, in the Hebrew, the word for female breast is shad, right? Well, Isaiah uses this word in 60:16 to say the milk of the Gentiles Israel would suck, and they would suck the breast of kings, right? Well, the word used there is shad, right? Which is associated with a woman's breast on a male, right? And the only way to do that is if the male is a true hermaphrodite, right? Both male and female, right? Well, that's kind of what Jesus was, and the disciples were trying to explain to us about Jesus. Paul said, by one Spirit we're all baptized into one body, the body of Jesus, right? Well, that includes the Jew and the Gentile, the bond and the free, and the male and the female, right? We're physically one in Jesus because he's the head image, right? Being both, right? Yet neither. That's kind of the catch-22. I know. Now, King James uses nor, but the actual Greek uses in. The male and female are one in Christ Jesus, right? A little bit more secure there, right? Meaning, like the medical term hermaphrodite applies to Jesus as well as other human-born hermaphrodites today. Right. Now, here's an interesting fact. I also learned to play parts of Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. There's a lady who knows all that glitter is gold, and she's buying the stairway to heaven. Well, I can teach you to play that song on piano. So a certain point, anyway. Reason why it's kind of interesting how I learned to do that, but it has to do with the chords in different musical pieces, but sorry about that. But we're all human. Nobody's perfect, like I said, as well in other videos. But no one's ever heard Stairway played on piano because it's such an intricate piece, and it's formed on a 6-string guitar. But this is a way you can kind of play it, but on piano, right? But I kind of learned to do that on my own because I can play by ear, right? And this is just a demonstration of that. And it's not the whole song, but, you know, it's kind of like the opening. And she's buying the stairway to heaven. Well, I can also teach you to sing it in your voice. And she's buying the stairway to heaven. Ooh, and it makes me wonder. Whoa, 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 yeah. Yes, there are 2 paths you can go by, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road you're on. Dear lady, can you hear the wind blow? And did you know your stairway lies on the whispering wind? Alright, but there's also a little controversy with Stairway because they did backtracked it, right? They put material on the back side of the reverse if you played it backwards, right? Well, really that's intentional, right? Now, how do you know that, you might ask? Well, the words backwards don't even say anything coherent, right? But if you hear something coherent, they did that kind of on purpose. But the words have sound kind of like it's talking about a tool shed, right? And that he was taken behind the tool shed, right? And he's talking about sad Satan. His number is 666 and things like that, which is true. And if you look into the controversy and you really listen to what they're saying, it kind of sounds like he's talking about being beaten behind the tool shed by his dad or a parental figure. And it kind of sounds like he's calling him Satan, if you know what I mean, right? And, you know, but it's also in a sympathetic way towards Satan as well, because it's kind of like with the song's sympathy for the devil, in a way too, right? The thing is, Satan is teaching us to be malevolent, whereas God is benevolent, for example, right? He's teaching us the ways of war, the ways of division, the ways of fighting each other over the wrong cause, right? See, can two walk together unless they be agreed? They can't, right? But what if you disagree on the topic, right? Say like the Jews don't eat pork, but the Gentiles do, right? Well, here's the way you do that. Live and let live. Mm-hmm. What live and let live means is, see, I go my way, but we still agree on certain things in rules, right? Which is all the law is. Say, the Jews don't want to eat pork, right? That's a fine rule for them, right? But say a Gentile does. That's a fine rule for him, right? And it's not a crime, okay, if you're eating meat, because you have to kill a lamb or a pig in order to get its meat, right? Well, part of the law is also rules about, like, you're not supposed to kill a cow and its calf unless it's a certain age, right? Like a year old or something. You got to give the calf and the mother at least a year together, right? These are humanitarian ways to kill an animal. Mm-hmm. And it's also better to kill an animal and give it a decent life before you slaughter it, right? And also the slaughter, the temple or the tabernacle or the religious ceremonies of Israel has to do with feeding the people. Mm-hmm. In fact, when Israel was tribal and they had the 12 tribes, they also had 6 Levite cities scattered throughout Israel where the people could do their religious ceremonies with the Levite priesthood, right? Their inheritance was the cities in the tribes, right? And they were allowed like 6 cities to help the people to do their daily worship, right? Now, the priests daily offered the sacrifices to cover Israel's sin, right? And the thing is, the tabernacle and the Holy of Holies and the holy place, which is before the Holy of Holies, is kind of like a metaphoric vagina, right? With the womb, right? And also the legs of a woman, right? Well, metaphorically, what you're doing is you're applying the blood of the animal sacrifices upon your children to cover their sins. That's why the Catholics will sprinkle their children when they're babes and confirm them when they're older into Jesus, right? Which is kind of like the same thing, right? And that's kind of probably why they do all that, right? But it's not a sin to do that, right? Nor not do that. For instance, some people baptize by full immersion, right? Versus sprinkling, right? Well, Ezekiel talks about sprinkling water upon people, and mikvah has to do with baptism, which is a Jewish ceremony where a priest or a newly converted person into Judaism has to get mikvah'd or baptized into the faith, right? Well, Jesus was kind of using that ceremony, right, as a form of baptism, as was John the Baptist, who was the original baptizer, and also baptized, Jesus also baptized his followers as well. But the disciples did that, not Jesus himself. Because Jesus baptizes with the Holy Ghost. Well, there's one baptism in water and then one baptism of the Spirit. One is the matter, one is the Spirit, right? And there's still one baptism in the water and in the Spirit, right? And the Spirit has to do with your mind awakening to the understanding, like Peter did, that Jesus is the Son of God, right? The firstborn of every creature, as the Apostle Paul said, which has to do with religious things that we aren't aware of anymore. Well, in 325 AD, because of how the disciples wrote out the New Testament, there was kind of a division between the Orthodox and a group called the Gnostics, who were talking about the androgyny of Jesus and the angels in heaven, right? Well, see, they are androgynous and then male and female, right? Like Adam was, right? Adam started out a hermaphrodite, and God removed bone and flesh to create the woman in a separate body from the first body, which was both as one, right? Then he made them two, right? Well, my theory is they had sex with a hermaphrodite, Satan, who became Satan to us, right? What he did was he had sex in the image of God versus becoming two. And that's why he's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? That's a metaphor because men are compared to trees who bring forth fruit, which has to do with how we work and treat each other and work around each other. Things like that, right? And, you know, this video is getting long. This is an introductory video. But I also got to cover what happened to me to where I'm disabled now. Well, in the military, I went in as a young, naive male and was trying to, I was always kind of religious, and when I was 12 years old, when my dad was murdered, I had a dream I saw a throne with a bright light shining from it, and after the dream, I was just trying to figure out if it meant anything, and I was asked my Sunday school teacher at the time, but she couldn't tell me the dream meant anything, right? Or wouldn't, right? Whichever it was, right? And even though I asked her later on, after I was in the Navy and stuff like that, she acted like she didn't even remember me talking about it, right? Well, again, right, it might have to do with Revelation chapter 12 and the male child who's caught up to the throne of God in heaven, right? Well, some say that it's Jesus, but in the book of Revelation, Jesus has female breasts, which is what the King James interpreted as paps. Well, paps is the Old English word for female breast. Now, he also uses that in Luke and even in the passage in Ezekiel, right? In Luke, a woman comes forward and says, "Blessed is the womb that bore you and the paps which you have sucked," which is female blessed, right? Well, that traces back again to Isaiah 60:16, right? And Jesus is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords because he's androgynous, right? Male and female in one body, right? We all are technically, right? Even the male is heaven and earth, right? Male and female, right? The female is double X, right? The male is X and Y, right? A hermaphrodite has three X's because he's X, 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 Y, right? And they're all from each other, right? We're all from each other, right? The hermaphrodite is into the male and female, and the male and female is into the hermaphrodite in Eden before the sin, right? With the hermaphrodite Satan, who did what he did to make us think we were sinning against God, and because we condemned ourselves with him, we died, right? This is kind of a mystery too, right? See, if we had confessed the sin, we wouldn't have died, right? But because we condemned ourselves, we died, right? It's kind of a catch-22. So what Satan is doing is teaching us to judge and condemn ourselves to death, right? And also teaching us to murder in the name of God when God is not a murderer, God is the creator, right? One of the creatures is teaching us to murder ourselves, right? And he's kind of suicidal and also homicidal towards us too, right? Because see, in the sin in Eden, the form he made, or God, Jesus allowed him to make, had to do with the rhesus monkey gene and the iron in the blood of a creature he made, right? To be a representation of himself, right? Well, see, Jesus still made that creature from himself, right? It's kind of the point about him being the firstborn of every creature. Jesus is the first cherub and then Satan, right? Who is a cherub too. He's the anointed cherub that covers. He used to help Jesus cover our mistakes, right? And not to do them, right? But because he rebelled, he started teaching us to make mistakes to the point of dying, right? That's why when you stab someone with a knife, you can kill them. Or shoot someone with a gun, you can kill them. Well, Jesus was pierced with a spear into his chest and heart, right? That would kill anyone. And the Roman lance is way bigger than the bullet. It's about like this, right? And a bullet's about like that. About that thick, right? Now, even if you're shot with a lot of bullets, like say with a shotgun or a machine gun, well, people were being healed of leprosy, which is a sore-like thing all over your body, right? Well, see, if you believe Jesus was raised from the dead and that God raised him from the dead, you can call on the power of Jesus who was pierced with the spear for God to heal you of injuries such as that, right? But there again, you have to have a lot of faith. Like when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in Babylonian times were brought before the king and told to worship the idol the king made, they refused to worship it because it was the male idol. Well, Moses told Israel not to worship graven images in the likeness of male or female. So you're not supposed to worship either one. But there's also a third image, that of the hermaphrodite, which Greek, Hindu, and Buddhist societies kind of have a kind of hermaphrodite figure. In Hinduism, it's Shiva. In Greek, it's Hermaphroditus. And in Buddhism, it's the Golden Buddha, who's both androgynous and male. In other words, in Buddhism and Hinduism, the statue to represent the Buddha has a breast of a woman and that of a man, right? And Hermaphroditus has two breasts of a woman and the penis of a man, but also testicles. He's kind of more a transgendered person, right? But a true hermaphrodite has it all. They have a penis, vagina, and ovaries and testicles, right? But the difference is their ovaries and testicles are in the body, as with the male child as he's being born. A male child's testicles descend into his scrotum in the womb, right? Now, I thought that was at puberty, but it's kind of true. What it is the testicles start receiving testosterone when you reach puberty, which is for a male around 12, and for a female that's around 8. Well, that might be why at the time Muhammad let women or girls at 9 marry, right? But also we can realize maybe that's not such a good rule too. Not to say Muhammad was, consciously doing something wrong either. But because that's when the girl might start maturing, you want to let her fully mature, for example, right? Now, that's not to condemn Muhammad, right? He probably was just trying to understand females better, right? But that's too young for a female to marry as well. Like in Georgia, the age of consent is 16, because in Georgia you can get your driver's license, and if you're old enough to operate a car, you're old enough to consent to sex. I guess that's kind of the idea behind that. But in other states, the age of consent is 18, when you can all vote, right? Which, that's 2 years difference, and like I said, whatever your state law is, you have to abide by it. But see, I'm in Georgia as a Georgia resident. Even if you come out of state, I live in Georgia and Georgia law applies, right? And if you come and visit me and you're 16-year-old, you can consent to being with you. Even if you're out of state, as long as you have a valid driver's license, for example. But you're not supposed to do that, with someone you don't know either, right? And again, that's kind of the point there. But technically, you can't, right? Because I'm a Georgia resident and you're in Georgia, and Georgia law applies. Now, Miley Cyrus came to Georgia when she was 17 with them, but that's just kind of funny. But in Georgia, they can consent to have sex. I think that's fine. If you know what I mean. That's okay, Just a little joke there on Miley. and them. Though again, like I said, do what you want to do. Do what you want to do. Nothing breaks like heart. I like a new song too. Now another thing you gotta do is if you're going to use the artist material, you also have to critique it a little bit. Say whether you like the song or not, right? If you like the music or if you like the accompanying music, you gotta critique it and teach it too, right? That way you're legally using it under educational and fair use, right? What that means is you gotta use it for educational purpose and fair use, which has to do with critiquing the song, right? Well, if you like the song, you can say you like it. If you don't, you can say you don't like it. But you can still teach the song either way, whether you like it or not, right? Things like that, right? But you got to do it in a what? Educational format. So, like with The Rose or other songs. Sorry, I ain't played it well. And I kind of forgot it. I didn't put it to sheet music yet. So I kind of forgot them, right? And I ain't played it well. But anyway, that's kind of how you play The Rose on piano by ear. But you got to demonstrate it as the lesson. See, I can also teach you the notes I use, right? And teach you how to write it on sheet music too. So the notes, right? Sorry, I'm having pop-ups right now. So the first note is the C, then D E, then E F, back to E, then three C's, then the fourth, then the D again, then back to the E. So I can also teach you how to play it on piano. That makes it from learning to play it by ear, also to teach you how to play it on piano, and I can teach you to do it in sheet music as well, to write the song out as well. And I can teach you how to write your own songs too, right? And sing your own songs and make up your own melody. Now, most melodies, like I said, are simple melodies, right? So what that is C, E, G, F, D. And what that teaches you to do is kind of like a musical lesson if you want to work on singing every other note, right? So it's a little lesson. To teach you how to sing that's a lower octave, but it's the same notes. So what I did there was, since this is in the higher range and I'm a male, even though this is an octave and will be more down here, oh, oh, but it's in every other note too, right? So that's C, E, G, F, D, right? Now, you can also play now, you know the wedding march and Here Comes the Bride is only a fourth, right? That's kind of considered a third of a third, right? What a third is every other note. A fourth is every three notes. So you know the melody Here Comes the Bride. This has been a while since I played it. Well, that's the fourth, right? What it is this three notes up from C, which makes it the C and the F, right? Okay. So this is how you play that. The wedding march. Or the Here Comes the Bride. And I ain't played it in a while, so I'm doing it by ear again. Now what air means is you gotta recognize the melody even when you play it right or wrong, right? Right. You gotta do that too to learn the melody, right? That's how I learned to play the Rose and even Stairway. I'm playing it by ear, right? But because Stairway is played on guitar and not piano, I'm transferring it to a different medium, right? In other words, you don't hear Stairway on piano really hardly at all. But what I did was I was able to transfer it from a guitar piece into a mild piano piece. Now, the guitar can do more notes than the piano, and that's why it won't be perfect. That's why you can hear some of the melody. That's why you can hear some of the melody, but not all of it, right? Because the guitar is able to do more notes per string than the piano. The piano can only play like certain notes, right? Now you can play chords with the piano on one end. A chord is like C, E, and G. That's the chord for the song The Rose, right? Now, really, you play the chord and the notes at the same time. You understand, right? So you play this, which is a musical accompaniment with the vocals, and you play it at the same time. I'm messing up, but that's why when I'm saying I'm not trained to play piano professionally, right? But I can play it by ear, right? Which one of my aunts could do that as well. Right. So you can play any song by ear on piano, right? And like I said, I'm just kind of giving you a brief introduction and some things. But anyway, I kind of went mentally ill in the military because of job-related stress and confusion about a church I was going out to, which is teaching its congregations who wanted to be single men and not get married that they could do things they wouldn't normally do. Having to do with two men doing a sex act with each other. Let's say that, right? Which they don't normally do. But I guess the pastor was thinking because they weren't going to get married, it was a sexual outlet for them or something, right? Which technically, I know, is a gray area. But because there's also a sex trade, right, as well. And people pay people to do acts like that, right? Well, because of that trade, even if you're religious and you do that, it's kind of murky. Some might think you're a little gay, right? Well, the thing is, Paul said to shun the very appearance of evil and handle your own business, basically. Right? Don't do it with another male. You don't need that. You don't need that. Just advice, right? For his church, too, right? Because I think that was one of the problems my shipmates had. They knew what was going on there. And they started making an issue and calling me gay because of it, right? Because I was going out to that church, right? Well, also, one of my shipmates got electrocuted when I did a observation-only work detail with him, right? Where I was to observe only, right? Well, because I looked like his friend when I stuck my head around the bus to see where he was at, I didn't even know where he was at behind the bus. Anyway, he touched the bus and the power wasn't shut off yet and he got electrocuted, right? Well, I had a problem with that guy because he was the guy, along with a guy named Ben Campbell, who was supposed to train me to be an electrician, right? Well, the guy Ben Campbell started harassing me I was gay and wouldn't train me and wouldn't work with me, right? Well, again, I couldn't do my job, right? And then when they transferred me to the battery rerun shop, EMF King didn't train me. He was supposed to train me, right? Well, it became a big fiasco. They stuck me doing jobs that didn't have nothing to do with my rating, but I did them anyway, right? You know, they tried to make me paint the shit. They tried to make me clean the toilets and the head, which is the bathroom, right, in the Navy, and things like that, right? Well, it got so bad that when I met a girl overseas, I think they broke us up. And it caused me a lot of stress, and I started hearing voices. So all it said is like Jerusalem, 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 kind of religious content as well. And I was immersed into the Bible a lot by that time too. And because of the dream, I was trying to figure out what it meant, and I thought it had to do with the two witnesses, right? Now, Pastor Thomas told me no, it didn't, right? Which kind of confused me as well at the time, because that was the only conclusion I could draw, right? I didn't think it had to do with chapter 12, because I think I was also told that had to do with Jesus. Literally. Jesus is literally before the throne of God in heaven. I only had a dream. So I don't think that's quite the same. You know what I mean? Alright. So that's why I'm offering music lessons and things like that. I also fell from a 3-story building and was injured in the fall somehow, right? So I was also trained in the martial arts, including looking into the art of the ninjutsu, or the ninja, right? Which is what it's called in Japanese, right? They're also called shinobi in Japanese, not ninja. That's the American word for it, right? And a guy named Stephen K. Hayes, at the time, wrote about a 4 or 5 book series dealing with the subject, right? But it's kind of like any martial arts, like karate or kung fu or jiu-jitsu or aikido, whatever you want to study, or hapkido or taekwondo, right? Whatever you want to call your martial arts system, it's based upon, like ninjutsu was based upon espionage and assassination, right? Well, that's how to kill people. Well, I was learning the art because of, things just general knowledge, right? Right. And they call that being a white ninja, right? Because you're looking into the art. A black ninja is someone who actually uses the art to assassinate someone, right? A white ninja is using the art kind of as espionage for his lord at the time, but maybe more of a reconnaissance spot. Like, say, they might use it to gather more information than the actual be an assassin. And there's different classes of the martial arts, including in the Jiu-Jitsu, right? They have a different ranking society. They have like the Chunin and stuff like that, right? Which has to do with uh, your ranking system in the Jiu-Jitsu, right? And I forgot all the details, but I got the book by Stephen K. Hayes still. But like everybody, during the 80s they had the martial arts crave, in the 70s too, with Bruce Lee and Enter the Dragon, and even the black films dealing with martial arts too, right? But they were more doing pit things, right? Too. And they had Shaq and all that. Mm-hmm. We had Shaq. We watched Shaq too, right? There's no they, right? Or we. We're all human beings, right? But someone is teaching us to look at the color of our skin, not on the inside of a person, which is the same for everybody. Whether you're a darker skinned person or a lighter skinned person, we're all people, human beings. Well, a lot of people get racist because of the color of your skin. Right. Well, that has to do with your climate and adaptation. People from Africa, which has always been a hot, dry climate, are being affected by the climate. Mm. As you have children, even if we all started out of light skin, for example, your skin will darken under adaptation to your environment, right? Because in a hot, dry, humid environment, your lips might begin to swell as you thirst for water. And your skin might darken to adapt to the heat, right? In the sun beating down on you. And if you're working all day, right, in the hot sun, right, from sun up to sun down, which is how they used to work, you get darker. Like when I was a little boy, I used to get real dark because of my Indian nature, right? But I'm also Irish. When I hit puberty, I started burning in the sun for some reason. And I didn't when I was a little boy, but when I got older, I got French and Irish and German in me as well. That started coming out more, right? When I hit puberty. And whereas before when I was in the sun, I would tan, I was almost as dark as an Indian or an African, right? But when I hit puberty, I started burning a little bit, right? Because of my European ancestry as well. But I'm also more Irish, though I have a great granddad who's Indian and maybe Cherokee or some Seminole or something. I'm not sure exactly which Indian group he's part of. We've even heard he might be a little bit of Mexican or Incan, right? We're not sure. And the thing is, though, that's kind of been bred out. Because my grandma and my dad could be like a quarter and an eighth, and my great granddad could have been like half, right? Well, it's not even showing up in my DNA profile, like on 23andMe or Ancestry, right? That kind of means it was bred out. If it's not showing up, it was kind of the Irish that kind of seems to bred it out, because my grandmother's mother on my dad's side was Irish, right? She had blue eyes, right? Their family was from Ireland, and they were Skinners, right? Well, my great granddad was a Watkins, right? But that's not quite an Indian name, is it, right? Don't sound Indian, right? But it might be an Irish name too, right? I don't know. But I'm more Irish, like 29% according to Ancestry. And it's also showing up in 23andMe. And I'm more European, but I also found out I have African ancestry. Like 1.2% of my ancestry came out of northern to mid Africa, right? also into 0.2% is Arabian, right? So I'm kind of a mix of everybody, right? I have Persian in me too, and that might be where my grandfather on my dad's side, and the male to my grandmother, right? That might be his ancestry, right? Because he was kind of a dark, gypsy looking guy, right? And he married my grandma, and she had 4 children with him: Russell, Tina, Bobby, and I mean Russell, and I mean Ronnie and Bobby, right? Sorry, okay, Tina, Christina, well, Russell, Christina, Ronnie, and Bobby, right? And she had 4 children with Claude, but Claude would also go off and leave her and wouldn't really support her, right? He was kind of one of these rambling men, right? Well, again, he was going off getting other women too, so it didn't work out, and she divorced him and married a guy named Kent. I call her name like Kent, right? And then they had a few children, I think Billy and Tony. Well, Billy might be someone else's too, right? But Tony and is Kent's, and that's basically our family tree there. That's a little dysfunctional too, right? Yeah, yeah. Not sure who was born first, Billy or Tony, but anyway, that's kind of the family tree, right? I got 6 uncles, right, on my dad's side. On my mom's side, I had 2 aunts and an uncle, right? Aunt Francine, Aunt Janine, and Uncle Marcel, right? But you're not supposed to know what I'm talking about. That's up. And they married, of course, but won't get into all that. Yeah. Just a whole family history, that, right? But anyway, so this is kind of an introductory video to what I'm doing here on YouTube, right? So, alright, this is getting a little long and just in general, for general knowledge, right? I want to upload it to my channel and y'all can watch it if you want to. Have a nice day.